120 kilometers off the coast of Norway is one of the North Sea's largest underwater gas fields. It's called Ormen Lange. At 40 kilometers long and 10 kilometers wide, and containing over 300 billion cubic meters of gas, it's simply massive. But it's locked in an icy tomb 3,000 meters below the sea surface, so deep and so remote that it's considered beyond the reach of man and machine. That is, until the engineers at Norsk Hydro, the Norwegian energy company, decide it's just too tempting to ignore. Because there is enough gas to supply 20% of Great Britain's gas needs for 40 years. But to build the world's longest subsea pipeline this far and this deep requires overcoming some not-so-simple problems. They're drilling nearly 2,000 meters through the seabed to tap the gas field. And they'll do this with a rig built right on the sea floor. The real fun begins with this, the Storegga Slide. The pipeline that brings the gas out of the field and delivers it to the plant has to scale this 300-meter underwater cliff face. And the seafloor terrain is too rough to lay pipe on, so that means trenching this monster. It's a monumental challenge, but with a pile of gas industry money behind them, the engineers can dare to dream. But are these guys going too far? Can they make this dream come true, or is this going to be an engineer's nightmare? First, they searched the world for a gas well platform, which would work in these torturous seas. Existing designs fall short. The weather here is too stormy. The water too deep. Then, they suggest a revolutionary solution. If they can't bring the gas up to a rig, why not take the rig to the gas? Inside this warehouse in Tonsberg, on the coast of Norway, the key piece of solving that engineering challenge is being built. It's a daring move. The engineers are combining the function of a surface platform with a seabed drill guide. It's called a template, and it's an underwater gas platform that guides the drills through to the gas field and controls the well flow. Conventional gas platforms are sea surface structures manned by an army of workers. In this case, the platform is dropped onto the seabed, clear of the wild North Sea weather. A drill ship then docks to it, and from above guides the drills through to the gas field. When the drilling is finished and the gas is flowing, the drill ship departs, leaving the template to control the wells. 4 of these monsters will be mounted on the seabed. Through them, a total of 24 wells can siphon over 70 million cubic meters a day from the gas field. The template will then direct and control the gas flow to a shore-based plant. The entire unit operating by remote control from a manned center 120 kilometers away. Richard Benyon is a subsea engineer.
The main thing that you've got, the difficulty that you've got, is it's dark, it's the devil of a job to put it in the first place. You've got to get this equipment onto the floor. It's highly valued, highly priced piece of equipment, and then you've got to put it together with robots, and you've got to make sure it doesn't leak. And apart from that, it's easy.
The stakes are huge. Engineers are building it to withstand pressures that would crush a normal submarine. And it has to operate flawlessly for over 40 years in a harsh saltwater environment. Once it leaves this warehouse and is lowered to the sea floor, there's no going back. It's going to be committed to the seabed forever. This 1,000-ton monster can't float on its own, so the structure is loaded onto a sea-going barge for transport to the drop site. With all the planning and building behind them, it's the weather that will determine if this mission is a success or failure. It's a 4-day journey to the drop site, and they've planned it to coincide with summer. It's the season of the calmest seas, which doesn't mean much here in the North Atlantic. They rendezvous with the world's largest crane ship, the Thielf, a super crane that does heavy lifts at sea. The 2 cranes mounted on board can lift over 14,000 metric tons. That's about 80 747 jumbo jets. The barge and Thielf wait for a weather window before lift operations begin. The contract to install the subsea components is worth $21 million. With so much at stake, they practice back on shore. The crane and ROV operators rehearse the drop. This is a 3D virtual underwater world, like the one they'll be working in. With weather, depth, and weight going against them, they practice. Now it's time for the real thing. Lines are connected. The record-breaking sea drop begins. This is their only chance. If they miss and it settles on the seabed in the wrong place, they'll have to build another one and set the project back by a year. Computer-controlled thrusters hold the crane ship over the drop site. As it goes below the surface, the underwater ROVs are put into action to take over as the eyes on the operation. They feed video back to the control room. The engineers scan the rig for problems as the pressure increases. From 1,000 meters below, the ROV feeds video back to the crane operator, who adjusts the orientation. They have to keep the ball bearing as close as possible to the center of the bullseye. He keeps the drop going, even when it's meters away from the sea floor. He's committed. There's no stopping it now. It's down, and it's so heavy, the legs on the base sink 8 meters into the seabed. But they won't know if they landed on the right spot until they check the coordinates. The reading shows it's within 40 centimeters of their target, close enough to be considered a perfect drop, accomplished from 1,000 meters above on a rolling sea. Now that the template has been successfully placed, the next step is to tap the gas field. It takes 2 years to drill the first 8 wells, and they must have them ready to go before the pipeline can be connected. A specialized drilling ship, the West Navigator, is moved into position over the top of the gas field. The Ormen Lange gas wells will be the largest deep-water wells drilled in the world. They drill the field with a powered drill head operated from the ship. Once assembled, the pipe is lowered through the bottom of the ship and the 1,000 meters to the template. From here, the drill head moves another 2,000 meters through the seabed to the gas deposit. And then it snakes its way through the gas pockets. Every step of the way is monitored and recorded in a virtual database, which keeps expanding and is used by the engineers and surveyors to plot the next drilling spot. Back on land, the team can enter the cave, an amazing 3D undersea world. By virtually passing over the seabeds and the gas find, they can locate the most promising parts of the deposit. Jens Grimsgaard can plot the drill's movement from the cave.
With a joystick, I can also fly in this world by just using it, this tip here, and using my movements of my hand to steer myself through this reservoir.
During the drilling, data collected by the drill is sent back in real time to this database, which is constantly being updated. The computer generates the images, which puts the team right in the gas deposit. They pinpoint spots from 10 kilometers away with astonishing accuracy.
That would be compared to that your dentist would be in the 10th floor, and you would be situated in the first floor, and he's going to fill out one of your tooths back there. We're getting extremely good results by doing this.
The template gets its power from the land through a 125-kilometer control cable called an umbilical. This cable carries huge amounts of electricity, enough to power 20,000 homes. Combined in this umbilical cable are tubes carrying hydraulic fluid, fiber optics, and electrical cables. The welds on these tubes have to be as strong as the welds on the pipeline. This is the power and control connection to the template. Without this, the template will be just 1,000 tons of useless metal at the bottom of the North Atlantic. But how do they deal with a cable that is a staggering 125 kilometers long? The cable is built in a factory right on the dock. As the cable is made, it is fed onto a giant spool on the deck of the Scandi Neptune. Once the 120 kilometers of continuous cable is spooled up, it will head out to the Ormen Lange gas field to connect the control room to the 4 underwater templates. But now, they have to prepare the seabed. The bottom of the ocean under the North Sea is a treacherous place. And, as you're about to discover, the engineers building the world's longest underwater pipeline are facing a mountain of trouble. 8,000 years ago, 2 pieces of Norway, each about the size of the island of Tobago, slid into the sea, causing a mega tsunami. The landslide, known in Norwegian as the Storega, created a huge shelf in the ocean's topography. The Ormen Lange gas field is on the edge of the Storega, locked inside the huge depression left behind by the slide. This underwater disaster created a mountainous seabed with peaks that rise between 25 to 55 meters. But the biggest concern for Hydro is how to get the pipeline up the Storega slide face, a whopping 300 meters. That's nearly as tall as the Empire State Building. The solution is to build an underwater excavator, agile and strong enough to handle the job. It's a daunting prospect. That is, until they built the Spider. The machine that inspired this one was originally built for the Swiss forest industry. And like its Swiss cousin, the Spider moves along using powered tracks and articulated legs. Its mission is to excavate 6 trenches at water depths up to 1,000 meters. The biggest of them is a 4-meter wide by 4-meter deep monster trench, big enough to drive a truck through. One Spider is outfitted with a powerful shovel. It's strong enough to cast aside a 3-ton boulder. Instead of a shovel, the other Spider has a suction nozzle. Powerful water jets break up the sea bottom, and the nozzle sucks it up and fires the mud to the side. All the while, the Spiders will contend with slopes up to 35 degrees. There are sensors on all movable parts, connected through an umbilical from a support vessel, which floats above and monitors its progress. The umbilical carries power and control cables and lets operators manipulate the 6-meter-long Spider to within 10 centimeters of accuracy, 10 centimeters from 1,000 meters above. It's an unprecedented mobilization of such complicated and agile robots. In all, these 2 champion diggers managed to excavate 3,500 cubic meters of soil, creating a safe path for the gas pipeline.